What is up, everybody? Welcome back once again to Hot Toys Hotline. As always, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel and drop a like on this video. I would very much appreciate it. Well, as you can see in front of me today, I have the Saturn Toys Dynamic Duo, the Batman and Robin 1966 1/6 scale figures. If you guys don't know, Saturn Toys is also Mars Toys. So if you have the Mars Toys 66 Joker in any variation, this is the same company under a different name. So I just wanted to let you know that before we get started, because I know there is some confusion there. But I'm really excited to get into this, guys. Let's quickly take a look at the art box and see what we got going on there. As you can see, we have an awesome portrait here of our Batman and Robin on the front, aka the Dynamic Duo. Very clever name, as they are known in the show and in the movie. If we look at the bottom here, that image on the front kind of wraps around towards the bottom pretty cleverly, and then on the side here it does say Saturn Toys. Love that logo, very cool looking. Of course, as always, I'll flip around to the back. You guys can pause this and read it if you would like to. Let me now flip this back over, it's a big box, back to the front. And let me get this top cover out of the way so we could take a look at that slip cover. And there we are. How beautiful is this? I love this kind of retro, vibrant blue color that they chose to go with on this slip cover. Really nice looking. I love the look of that. But of course, as always now, let's get this pesky packaging out of the way so we could take a look at the plastic clamshell inside and see how everything arrives to you when it lands on your doorstep. Before I open everything up, I just wanted to show you two things. All of the accessories to both Batman and Robin are laid out here in the front on top of the top cover. And on the back here, there are ropes in the back for the grappling hook, so make sure you pay attention to that, because I know a lot of people will probably miss that. But let me flip it back over and take the lid off of the packaging. There we are, and as you can see, here are our two figures, as well as the remaining accessories that aren't contained either in the back of the box or in the front of that main clamshell with all the hands and everything. But now, what's left to do other than to take the figures and the accessories out of the box, and we'll take a closer look at all of the details. Okay, so I have all of the accessories taken out of the box. Now I will say, guys, I'm going to do this review a little bit differently in regards to the accessories, because there are so many and there's a lot to get through, because this is a two-pack with two different figures. So in the interest of time, I'm going to keep most of these hands in the plastic clamshell and kind of give you a close-up of what they look like. As you can see, this side are all the hands for Batman, and as you can see, very well sculpted, very nicely painted. I think they look very good overall. And what I'm very happy to see is a large variety of different hands for all of Batman's different poses and gadgets that he comes with. Really awesome to see this. Thank you so much, Saturn Toys, for really going all out with the hands. Now moving over to the side with Robin's hands. Not as many hands, but to be fair, Batman gets the most hands on because Robin is the sidekick, so I'm okay with that. But again, a tremendous amount of hands for both figures. Really nice to see, and I will grab one of the Robin hands really quick just to give you a close-up of one of these as well. Again, really nicely sculpted and painted. Overall, I have no complaints about these, and I think they look really good. So just wanted to do it a little bit differently, just in the interest of time. Alright, but next we might as well get the display stands out of the way. Very basic. You can see this is the one for Robin, being that it is green. It does have the Dynamic Duo logo on the front. I will say it is a bit unfortunate there is a spot here for a nameplate, but we do not have a nameplate on either one of these bases. Definitely a bit unfortunate. Also, one thing to note, the stickers on these bases aren't really put on that well, and also there's some kind of dust and debris underneath the stickers. Not as bad on this one, but it's a bit more present on that one. It's not a huge deal to me. I'm not going to focus too much on the display stands, but moving on to Batman's. His is obviously quite similar. It's just in a blue color because it is Batman's base. But as you can see what I'm talking about, you can see the kind of the dust and debris underneath the sticker. And overall, the sticker is holding on, but it's just not really put on very well. So I just wanted to point that out. And again, definitely wish there was some sort of nameplate or at least a name printed there, because there's a spot there just kind of calling its name, but nothing is on there. So that's a bit unfortunate, so I just wanted to point that out. And of course, I did pre-install the little crotch grabber on there just to show you what it would look like fully assembled. And next, moving on, we're going to grab this transmitter here. I do remember these being used for many different things throughout that 1966 Batman film. However, I remember these were great for redirecting torpedoes. So really cool that it includes two. And I would like to point out, it's pretty cool that this is a real metal ring on the top here. You can move it as well. Definitely a nice touch. Definitely always great to see more durable materials being used. And you could see it is really well painted overall. I think it looks pretty good. Definitely an awesome accessory that I'm glad to see included. Next, guys, of course, you can't have Batman and Robin without their shark repellent. This is obviously from that beginning scene in the movie where Batman gets attacked by that shark because of Penguin, and it's hanging on to him, and Robin has to grab his trusty shark repellent to get the shark off of him. Love that scene. Love to see that shark prop just kind of slowly falling towards the water. Definitely really cheesy, but always a great time rewatching that scene, so this is really cool to see this included. Next, we have our bat cuffs. That's probably what they called them. I can't remember. But I know all of the Adam West Batman gadgets are all bat something. This does have a real metal chain, which is good to see. However, the cuffs are plastic. I think these are really well done, and I can't wait to put these on Catwoman whenever she gets announced. Next, this is really cool that they included. It's such a goofy scene from the movie where Batman's running around trying to get rid of that bomb. This is really cool. It's obviously a very plain, basic accessory. You do have a very noticeable seam line down the middle, so that may bother some people. I'm probably not going to pose them with this, so it won't really bother me. But I am happy to see this included because I think this is really cool because I do love that scene so much. So definitely cool to see this included with this set. And next, of course, we have our grappling hooks here. As I mentioned earlier, the string for these grappling hooks is in the back of the box. But it's great to see these included. I'll always remember that final scene once all of the world leaders get rehydrated and they escape out of that window inconspicuously. So really cool to see these included. I probably won't ever display them with this. However, cool accessories nonetheless. And finally, we do have two swap out faceplates for Batman, which is really cool to see. I actually don't hate this one. I think for a teeth gritting sculpt, this actually works, and I think the likeness is totally there for Adam West. Obviously, this one we do have some teeth showing, but it's a bit more subtle. They are definitely very nicely painted. I think they did a pretty good job on the paint apps on these, so I can only imagine it looks great on the figure. Of course, there are magnets on the back side, so it can magnetize to the sculpt. And during the posing segment of the video, I will, of course, put at least one of these on the figure so you can see how it looks with a different face sculpt. But that's it for the accessories, believe it or not. I know we tried to breeze through those. Now we're going to take a look at both Batman and Robin separately and see what we think of the dynamic duo by Saturn Toys. Alright, so of course we're going to start with Batman's trusty sidekick. Here we have the 1966 Burt Ward Robin, guys. And taking a look at this head sculpt first, I think it looks pretty dang good. I think Saturn Toys absolutely nailed this. I've been told this is a recast from the Hot Toys product. I don't have them in hand to compare. All I could do is speak on what I have here, and I do think it looks pretty excellent. I think it's very well painted and very well sculpted. Overall, I'm very happy with the likeness on this head sculpt. But of course, really quickly, let me adjust to a more yellow lighting so we could take a look at this sculpt in different lighting. And here he is in a more yellow light, and again, the sculpt looks absolutely stunning in this lighting as well. And I will get really close on the sculpt so we can try to see those eyes behind the mask. I think it looks really good, guys. I'm definitely a huge fan of this sculpt. Definitely zero complaints there. But let me back the camera out and adjust the lighting once more, and we'll take a look at the rest of the figure. Alright, so taking a look at the outfit, guys, I think this is really well done. I especially like these little eyelets running up the front of his costume design. I love the string running through there. I think that's really well done. If I can get a bit closer on it, you could see really nicely tailored there. Of course, the logo on his chest I think looks really good in terms of placement. I think it's placed roughly in the right place. Moving down, of course, we have to take a look at Robin's utility belt. I think it looks awesome. I mean, this outfit is just so nostalgic. I am a newer fan of the 66 Batman stuff, So for me, having this in hand is such an experience, and I think this looks absolutely incredible. Moving around to the back, of course, we've got to take a look at his cape. This beautiful kind of velvety yellow texture looks really good on this figure. It has a sheen to it in the light, as you could see. The costume design from the 66 Batman stuff is just absolutely beautiful. If we lift up the cape in the back, you can see there is a real working zipper down the back with some buttons here where obviously the cape attaches. And then also we can see the attachment point for the belt as well. Flipping it around back to the front, guys, he has a cloth green kind of leotard. Now, I know there was a big conversation on the kind of baggy undies, as people were calling it, especially with the Batman. Of course, I'm going to show you a case by case with each one of these figures, but it looks pretty good on the Robin. They are kind of tight to his body like it is in the film and in the show. So I have no complaints about that on this figure for sure. I think that's pretty accurate in my opinion. Moving down, he does have the spandex that he has in the film as well. Looks really good. I think it's the correct shade, and overall I have no complaints about that. And also, of course, we do have some hands pre-installed on the figure. This is all sculpted plastic here, and he has two fisted hands pre-installed on the figure. Moving down, guys, we have his trusty, I always call these the Peter Pan shoes. It's just what it reminds me of. These look really good. These are sculpted plastic. It is more of a firmer plastic, which is surprising, but overall I think they look really good. And if we take a look at the tread, we really just have a flat bottom tread on there. Nothing too special there, but definitely looks good overall. In terms of posability, guys, I have a feeling this one's going to pose just fine. In terms of the head articulation, we can move it left and right really with no issues. Up and down, really as far as you would want it, in my opinion. In terms of the shoulders, you really kind of have to force it up, but then it does kind of lock in place. Same with both sides. I really don't have too many complaints about that. That is as high as I would like it to go. In terms of forward movement of the arms, you kind of have to work at it, but you can get it really as far as you would want it, in my opinion. But taking a look at the elbow articulation, of course, whenever we have exposed arms and it's not a seamless body, it's almost always a single jointed arm just because they can hide the joint a little bit more. That is no exception here. As you can see, it does go to a full 90 and not beyond, so that's a bit unfortunate. However, it does not surprise me at all because I believe the Hot Toys version was that way as well. In terms of the posability of the hands, you do have full rotation. However, you really can't rock it much at all because of the limitation of the gauntlets here, so definitely keep that in mind. In terms of ab crunch, let me get these arms out of the way. Definitely more than enough there, as you could see. No complaints about that. Of course, this outfit lends itself very well to that. Bending at the waist, I imagine, would be pretty easy. Yeah, it is. There's really no restriction at all in this material, and of course it's going to be the same on both sides. In terms of the knee articulation, these aren't ratcheted, however, they do bend pretty well. A little squeaky, as you could hear on that side. Of course, it's going to be the same on both sides. Squeaky there as well, I guess. But you can really pose them as far as you would like to. There's no limitations in this material whatsoever. In terms of the ankle, we do have a bit of a rocking left and right, front and back. Really not bad considering how sturdy the plastic is on these, and of course, it's going to be the same on both sides. But that's going to be it for Robin for now, guys. Let me put him to the side and grab Batman. We'll see him later in the final posing segment of the video. Alright, so of course, we have the Adam West 1966 Batman here, and we're going to take a look at the head sculpt as we always do. I think it looks very good. Of course, as I mentioned, there are swap out mouthpieces that I showed you in the accessory portion of the video. I will attach at least one of those in the final posing segment of the video. But overall, guys, I think the likeness to Adam West is pretty excellent. I do think the cowl is sculpted very well. I know some people mentioned these needed to be straightened out just a little bit. I could see what they mean by that, but honestly, that's kind of nitpicky for me, so I'm not going to complain about that personally. But overall, I think the head sculpt looks very good. I'm definitely pretty pleased with how it looks personally. Let me adjust the lighting to a more yellow lighting, though, so we could take a look at the sculpt in a different light. Okay, and here we are really quick, once again, just looking at the head sculpt from side to side. It looks absolutely incredible in my opinion. And again, very nicely painted, as I mentioned earlier. I think they did a great job, and overall, I have zero complaints about this. But now let me adjust the lighting back and back up the camera a little bit, and we're going to take a look at the rest of the figure, because I know a lot of people have some questions about this one in particular. Alright guys, so the first thing that I wanted to address, I know a lot of people had questions and concerns about the centering of the Bat logo and kind of the location overall on the chest. I will say it is a bit low in my opinion, however, I don't think it's that far off. I was always under the opinion that the Hot Toys one put the logo too high. As you guys know, the modern Batman suits that we know and love, the bat symbol is kind of centered in the middle of the chest more than this one is. That wasn't really the case with the 1966 Batman. It wasn't quite in the center of the chest. It was a bit lower. Again, I do think this one is slightly too low. However, it really doesn't bother me that much. I feel like really if you wanted to move it up a little bit, you probably could a little bit if you adjust the suit. I'm not going to mess with it. I don't personally have too much issue with that, but I do think that some people's location may vary depending on your copy of the figure, so definitely keep that in mind. But with that being said, guys, I definitely want to take a look at this cape. If I back it up a little bit, I really do love how this cape drapes. I think it looks really good. Just like Robin's, it's a nice, thick, like velvety material. If we move it around to the back, sorry, it's kind of bunching up there. If we move it around to the back, you could see it looks very nice. Not as much of a sheen to it as the Robin cape has, but overall, I think it looks very nice. I might have to steam mine a little bit. It's a little wrinkly, but overall, I think it looks really good. If we flip it around to the back, guys, you can see there are buttons here on the back where the cape kind of holds down on the figure, which I think is pretty nice, and it looks like there's a zipper here as well. Also, there are buttons on the shoulders as well, holding the cape down. We might as well address this while we're here, guys. I know we do have this awesome utility belt, and we'll take a look at that from the front. Another issue that a lot of people were having was the baggy undies issue, as I mentioned earlier when we were talking about Robin, but specifically with Batman the most. As you can see from behind, they look very baggy. Fortunately for me, mine don't look as bad from the front. I will flip it around for you guys and get this cape out of the way so we can take a look at it from the front. I will say, looking at the screen used costume, they are not baggy like this. They are kind of skin tight on his body. You can see if you kind of pull it taut, it's much better. I'm going to find a way to modify this without damaging the suit at all. If I do, I will let you guys know. I know some people have mentioned stuffing cotton and stuff in there. Maybe if you stuff it in the back, it'll pull it a little bit tighter on the front, because obviously from the back, who cares what it looks like? But I'm going to try something, and if I find something, I'll let you guys know. So that's definitely a detractor for me. Does it ruin the figure? Absolutely not. When you look at the Hot Toys one, it had the same issue, so I'm not surprised at all. Just wanted to point that out to you guys. That's another big concern for a lot of people. I don't think mine looks terrible from the front, but it's definitely an issue in my opinion. I will say I do love how the utility belt looks, and I wanted to mention this is a stamped metal buckle on here, which is really cool. As you guys know, we love premium material, so I wanted to point that out. That is really cool in my opinion. And also there's a real metal clasp on the cape up here, which is great to see. Looking at the gauntlets, they are very nicely sculpted. Of course, on this one we have fisted hands pre-installed on the figure. These are really well done. I love all the sculpted in folds and everything in the gauntlets. I have no complaints about that. Moving down to the rest of the suit, of course, Batman is a bit more plain than Robin. You could see that kind of spandex suit makes its way down to the lower half of the figure. And then we do have these sculpted boots for Batman. However, these are not split cut, so of course these are going to be very limited in terms of rocking or anything like that. So definitely keep that in mind. In terms of posability, though, of course, we'll start with the head. Left to right, it poses very well. I think it's a pretty clever design that the cowl portion at the bottom is separated from the top, so that allows you to go side to side, forward and backward very freely. So I think that's very clever in my opinion. In terms of the shoulders, I think these pose pretty well, all things considered. No complaints there from me. In terms of going forward, really no limitation at all. Of course, you do have a little bit of bounce because this is a spandex material, but overall, it poses very well. Really no complaints there either. Moving down to the elbow articulation, these are actually double jointed, and again, as I mentioned earlier, that doesn't surprise me because the Robin has those visible joints. Often they'll use single jointed arms because it covers up that joint a little bit more, but thankfully, at least with Batman, and he looks really good kind of in that basic punching pose, but at least with Batman, we do have double jointed arms, which is good to see. Having him in this pose reminds me that we didn't get the boxing gloves with this release, and I saw that Mars Toys had teased the boxing gloves on Batman with the Riddler in the announcement photos for the Frank Gorshin Riddler. So Mars, if you ever watch this, somehow find a way to get us those boxing gloves for Batman. Maybe throw them in with the Riddler last minute. Who knows? I would love to see it. Moving down in terms of ab crunch, a bit more limited than the Robin. I don't think it's too limited to where you can't get any certain poses out of it. but it's definitely more limited than Robin. Down at the waist, I'm sure it'll pose very easily. Yes, it does. Really no issues there. In terms of the knee joints, this one actually does have ratcheted knees, whereas the other one did not. So that's definitely good to see. I would prefer that across the board, but I know the limitations of the bodies that they use. But I definitely love to see ratcheted joints. In terms of the boots, guys, not much to say about this. They're fully hard sculpted plastic, so it's not going to allow you to do anything but rotate left and right. So I'm going to leave them in this cool punching pose as I move into the final posing segment of the video, and then of course I will share my final thoughts on the dynamic duo Batman and Robin set by Saturn Toys. At the end of the day, I think there's a lot to love about the dynamic duo set by Saturn Toys. Despite the issues mentioned in the video, I think this is a great pickup, especially to save over $700 on those Hot Toys versions. There is a second run going on right now on 1/6 kit. Link will be in the description. Make sure you're logged in. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.